Of course I think you're beautiful. I wouldn't have married you if I thought you were ugly. And my wife is no longer talking to me. My name's Jeff. That's Mike. We
Hey,
are My
everybody.
Wife Still Likes Me. Let's watch a logo and then we'll be back. Hey, how you doing?
Oh, it's gonna be fun.
I don't even know if it sounds good or not. I should probably listen to it.
You remember that show? Are we recording?
Yeah. I don't know where to put stuff like this, but this is great stuff. All right, before I ask you how you're doing, Kimberly, I love you. You and I have had many conversations about this. You are pretty, and I would have married you anyway. Mike, how you doing?
I'm good, brother. I don't know. I got a spare bedroom. Well, not really. I got a floor that you can hang out
I
with.
know where you park your trailer.
And it's getting cooler, so
Yeah.
like you said, we're in the 80s right now. But yeah, I'm doing well, brother.
Jeez.
I'm hanging in there. I mean, it's just one day at a time, one moment at a time, one step at a time. Let's keep doing this.
One step at a time. You have to keep telling myself that.
Yep.
Totally unrelated. I have learned I have square-toed dress shoes.
Okay.
I should not wear them on my motorcycle. I have a heel-toe shifter,
Yeah, okay.
and they stick out further than all my other shoes, so I keep getting my toe on the shifter, which I don't want to do. The only reason I have a heel-toe shifter is so I can wear dress shoes.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
they're comfy to begin with, but the reason I have a heel-toe shifter so I don't use my toe to
Right.
shift and screw up my shoes. Yeah, well,
Oh.
I'm going to lift my foot up to shift and shifting, and I'm like, oh. Anyway, uncommon questions. They come in a box. Mike's going to pick one for us.
Yep.
Fresh conversations for couples. If you need something to talk about, Amazon. There should be a link. They are not sponsored. We just think they're awesome because Mike's going to ask me questions, and they're questions like this.
So today's uncommon question would be, what is a subject that you would like to learn more about?
Spanish.
Spanish. Is that a subject or is that a language?
Yes. Oh my goodness. No. All the time, people get in my car, and I have no idea what they're talking about, and they're speaking Spanish.
Right.
And I took 4 years of it in high school.
Yeah.
Because I knew I was going to travel at some point in my lifetime. All of the Spanish-speaking countries I've been to, most of them speak English better than we do.
So you didn't need it.
So I didn't need it, and so I forgot most of it. And not like the joking ones, like dos cervezas,
Right.
donde está el baño. Like those are the jokes. But like this lady was in the car last night just talking to me like constantly in Spanish, and like I assume she's talking to me, and I can get a word here and there, but like I took her to the neighborhood I grew up in, and like I can't tell her this. I'm like I don't know. Yeah.
So I know, like one of the apps on my iPhone, the Google Translate, they can
Not
speak.
while I'm driving.
Whatever. There's stoplights.
There are stoplights,
You
but
know, you can be like, she said what? Oh. Oh, I passed the turn. I'm sorry.
And I even tried to process it in my head. I'm like, yo, pequeño niño.
I'm going to apologize right now for all the Spanish-speaking people out there.
Yeah, no, yeah. Anyway, I would like to learn Spanish. One, we live in Arizona, so it would help.
Oh, yeah.
But I get a lot of clients in Uber that we have a 40-minute car ride, and I can't talk to them because I don't speak Spanish.
Ooh.
Like, even a little bit would be okay.
Mm.
I did have a funny one. Like, so I had these two guys yesterday, and they both speak Spanish, but one guy is answering everything in English, so I get half the conversation. And they're going through talking about, like, something happened with this dude's mom or his dad. Like, his dad died or, like, left them or whatever, and she's always looking to get the better end of some deal to get, like, stuff fixed, but it's always, like, that kind of better end of the deal.
Oh, okay.
And he's saying, like, his friend is saying, like, you know, your mom's, like, hooking up, trying to get deals and stuff like that in Spanish, and he's replying in English, and I'm trying so hard not to laugh because I can put both sides of this conversation
Right.
together. And I'm like, I'm glad we wear masks when we drive because I'm just, like, giggling this whole time.
Oh, yeah.
And this is, like, the only trip the whole time where they wanted the windows open because it was, like, nice outside. And so I can hear them talking. And I'm just like, I hope they can't hear me laughing because this is hilarious. Anyway, what about you?
Subject that I would like to learn most about. I mean, honestly, there's There's a ton of them, but to try to narrow it down, um, goodness.
And I was trying to think of something like that would actually be useful. Like I always want to get better at editing and taking
Oh
photographs,
yeah,
but like that's what I do. Like
right.
that's my job. Like that's not the same thing.
No, I mean, yeah, something outside the norm. I mean, obviously, different languages would be cool. Um, I don't know. I sit there and I think about, man, I would love to know more about like investing, things like
Oh
that.
yeah.
I have little things here and there. But to sit there and when people are talking about, oh, this triangle and this peak and this, I'm just like, huh?
Yeah.
And they're explaining this trend is going this way, and this is why this triangle is doing this, and this means it's going to go up, this means it's going to go down, and it's kind of like, okay, I'll just take your word for it.
It's math. I don't understand.
Well, that I mean, I love math, but I mean, it's just the references, and you'd have to, I want to learn what they mean.
Sure.
And obviously we lead busy lives, so there's little time left for me to just sit there and go, I'm going to focus on this for a little bit, half an hour, whatever.
Right.
A lot of time when I have that extra time, I just sleep. But
Oh yeah, I think about that with like the show and like what can I do for the website or how can I help us as a business like be
yeah,
better and like I've got YouTube video after YouTube video and like PDF or blog just saved and I'm like, but it's like 10 o'clock at night. I've worked all day. I want to
absolutely
scroll TikTok. I don't want to learn how to do anything.
something to just relax and melt the mind away.
Right. Go back and watch last week's episode.
Yep. Yeah.
Like I just want to decompress.
So
Yeah. So investing would be a good one because I let my retirement plan through work had through work deal with that.
right.
The only thing I remembered about investing is that it's mandatory in Arizona when you work for the state,
Oh, okay.
and it's like 13% or something like that.
Oh, wow.
It's like 12. Yeah, 12. I think it's 12 and a half. Yeah, if you work for anything in Arizona, government related, school, like I was a bus driver, mandatory. I think it's 12.5% retirement.
Oh, wow.
And which is fine. Like I'm
Yeah.
not opposed to it, but like
Yeah.
you're a bus driver and you only make $15 an hour, and
Right.
$1.35 of it goes to retirement every time.
Exactly. I mean, ugh.
If you're a math nerd, I have no idea if that's
No,
actually
it's
12.5%. I assume if it was $10 an hour, it would be $1.20.
Yep. There you go. Woo.
I'm guessing. Anyway, we need to remind our wives that they're beautiful.
Oh yeah.
And if you don't think your wife's pretty, lie to yourself. That's horrible.
Or to your wife.
Oh my gosh.
All right. So
I genuinely think that my wife is pretty. Like my wife is I have a biased opinion. And yes,
of course.
there are whatever, we can go through the same 15-year-old conversation. Victoria's Secret models have makeup on, porn stars have makeup on, whatever.
Right.
Like Photoshop is a real thing.
Absolutely.
I genuinely think my wife is the hottest woman ever to walk the face of the earth.
Perfect. Yeah, that's what we need to think as husbands.
She does not agree with me. But yes, we need to think that as husbands. But we need to tell them.
True. Very true.
Most of us don't tell them.
Not as often as we should.
No, not well. I've been asked to stop several times.
Oh.
So apparently I might do it too much, but I think she just doesn't want to hear it. Anyway, what does that look like for Mike? Mike, how do you tell Steph that she's pretty?
Well, I mean, the simplest way to do it is just to say, hon, I think you look very nice today. Simple things like that, because they go through different steps, and there's a lot of work that women go through to where they
What do they call
feel
it?
pretty.
Prim and polish?
Something like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Prim and polish.
it is what it is because, I mean, they sit in front of a mirror, they put makeup on, they do their hair a certain way, they have all these steps that they go through.
I'm going to do something horribly inappropriate.
okay.
I need to tell my wife while she's getting ready that it's dress nice, comfy date night.
Oh, okay. and that she looks pretty.
Yeah, sorry. We're recording the show and it's date day. Again, I had one last week too. And I need to tell her tonight's date is nice, comfy.
Nice, comfy. But no, I mean that's where I'm at. I sit there and I look at it and I go, okay. In my opinion, obviously I love my wife dearly, and I think my wife's a very beautiful woman. I think she looks very pretty without all the fluff, without all the makeup, without she can get out of bed, get out of the shower, and in my opinion, that's where she has a very natural beauty, and that's what I
Yeah.
like about it, and that's where I've told her, hey, you don't have to wear all that stuff, but like you were saying, they're self conscious. If they don't see it, if they don't feel it,
Yeah.
it's they don't believe us. Oh, well, you're my husband. You have to tell me that. And that's where I think if we can sit there and just out of the blue be like, hey, hon, you know what? You look really pretty today.
Hmm.
Things like that. And we take and make a conscious effort to just say, hey, hon, wow, you look really pretty. You're
Hmm.
beautiful. You're gorgeous. Whatever this is. And it doesn't have to be a special occasion. She could just be getting ready to walk out the
Yeah.
door and hey, you know what? I want you to have a good day and I want you to know that you look very beautiful today. And that is in itself is huge because now
Yeah.
you've just given them a confidence boost and they like their day can go better. It can
Hmm.
be better just because of those simple words. And if we can continue to do that, we're good. I mean, and that's and I'm not saying that we need to lie to our wives. Um, the old adage where she comes walking out of the closet. Does this make me look fat? I love you, dear.
I can have that conversation though,
Right, but I
and
mean, a
not.
lot of men
Yeah.
can't,
No, they can't.
and it's that's the whole.
Ooh, there's a show idea. How do you approach your wife's health without getting kicked out? Because
I,
like
yeah,
Kim and I have had that conversation. Like
right,
I'm concerned for your health. Like my wife is hot. Like I will tell people
right.
I got a hot wife and I love her very much. I am concerned for her health though. Like whatever
Oh
that
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know.
yeah.
Um.
Weight loss, whether it be any health concerns, things like that, you have to be
Well,
concerned, and
we're
that's where
getting
the
old.
love comes from. Absolutely, things.
Not even that. Like we're yeah. Like just go see your doctor. Like
Oh yeah,
make sure the ticker's gonna last.
another
This is a
30
horrible
years
joke. We are gonna die first. You know why?
because we want to.
No, because our spouses won't be ready yet.
Oh, oh, oh. I don't know. I've been
Case
told
in
that.
point. My date's not for 6 hours, and my wife's already getting ready.
Oh my goodness.
I'm kidding. She's not. She assumes she's just getting up for the day. Anyway, I love you. Love me back, please. Um,
At least like me.
you're right though. All like they shouldn't have to ask.
No.
Like at some point we picked them,
Yeah.
and whether they were hot or they're pretty girls, like we can totally get high school on this again. Remember back, hot was like dateable, pretty was somebody you kept,
Oh yeah.
and like it's horrible to categorize people that way. And I wouldn't do that today, but I'm just like, for me, it's um. if I'm like sitting on the couch or something and like when nobody's here, pants are optional or whatever,
Yeah.
right? And so like my wife will walk by and I'll like grunt. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And like it's a joke and it's stupid, but I genuinely mean it. Like I'm trying not to be detailed, like with
Right. Yeah. G-rated.
you all have that thing where your wife is comfy at home and like I'm okay with the oversized sweatshirt. Like
Yeah.
that's like yeah. Um,
Put just
whatever.
my shirt on
Or
and
all
wear
the time,
that.
like she'll be getting ready, and I'll be like, "You don't need to put all that crap on."
Right.
Yes, I do. I'm like, no, you don't. Like, you're pretty. Um, our women go through life and work their butts off,
Definitely.
and the world is tough on them, and especially in like cancel culture and um. What are all the other ones? Fat shaming, like all of these things, like that are just
Yeah.
horrible on like self opinion and all that stuff. Compliments go a long way in helping our wives prep for the day. Sometimes we don't get it, we don't understand it, but our wives shouldn't have to ask. Like when our wives come out and say, "Hey, do I look nice in this dress?" they shouldn't have to ask you that like any day. Like
Right.
if it's a do these shoes match kind of thing, like that's fine, whatever. But they shouldn't have to ask, hey, do I look pretty today? Yes, you do, and you should tell them every day. And we're not talking about the 212 thing, like the checking on our wives. That's different.
And by the way, that's another episode. Check out our first season for that
I think
one.
it's 3 or 4.
Yeah.
If I remember, I'm sorry, I don't remember these. If I remember, I'll put a link in to go to that one. It says 212 in the top of the thing. We got to step it up. As husbands, we need to show off our wives, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying trophy wife. I'm very much a trophy husband, but I'm not saying like that. Like, yes, you need to have your wife dress up and take her out for dinner so all the other guys can see that somehow you got to be lucky. We don't know how that worked, but you need to tell your wife that she's pretty, and not just because you have to. I mean, you should. If you don't, I don't know how to word that one. If you don't think your wife's pretty, I don't know. Like, because like all women have a natural beauty, like whatever.
Absolutely. I mean, you don't want it to be superficial to where,
yeah,
okay, I married you and you were pretty, and now you're not pretty like you were when I married you, type of thing. You don't want to be superficial.
And that's
like
one
that.
of those like. We understand this, and I imagine a lot of guys don't. Like, I've been married 15 years.
Yeah.
My wife's had 3 children. Like, my wife has shot 3 watermelons out the whole size of a lemon.
Right.
She's not the same person physically anymore, and I understand that, but my wife is still incredibly beautiful, and just, she needs to know it. And I tell her, I like to think I tell her all the time. Hopefully I do. But as guys, you need to understand, 10 years from now, your wife's not going to be the same woman.
Right.
But who knows? Like, haircuts. I mean, some of these things, like I joke and I'll be like, I think my wife should dye her hair hot pink, but she works for corporate America, so my wife's not gonna dye her hair hot pink. So she bought a wig one time. Great experience. But things like let them pamper themselves, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it's a whole different show. But like, just tell them, like, on a regular basis, you know, or. Without being a pervert, be a fan of your wife's body. Like, whatever.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Like, at home, I mean, to an extent in public, I mean, don't be dumb and
don't
gross.
Be grabbing and groping everywhere.
You know, holding hands or kisses on the cheek or whatever.
PDAs are okay.
Don't ruin the lipstick because, anyway. But yeah, all the time. Like, and there's like, we all can think of this, and I can think of it. There's that thing your wife does, whatever it is, and not that thing.
We're guys, that's where we went.
Kim does this, like, she does the messy bun ponytail thing, and I'll say something or whatever, and she'll turn, and her little bun flaps around. Like, that is one of the sexiest things my wife has ever done.
Right on.
And like, that's like, you all have, your wife does, I assume guys have this thing too, but you all have, your wife does something like that. Whatever it is, appreciate that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, anyway, my wife knows these things. I tell her that. I thought I would have a lot more show notes.
No, we're good. No, and that's where I think you're right. You're absolutely right. There's little bits and pieces of our wives that are extra special. Yeah. The hair flipping, the bun, things like that. But I mean, in general, we need to be able to tell our wives, I still love you, and I still think you're beautiful. And that in itself, in my opinion, means a lot. It means a ton, because they sit there and go, oh, he still loves me. He still thinks I'm beautiful. And it's not, and beauty shouldn't be the only reason why we love them, but there's still an attraction.
Yes.
As long as, and as long as, in my opinion, as long as they feel that attraction, they feel beautiful.
I was watching a thing. It's probably on TikTok. I don't know if it's related, but it's slightly related. It was a guy was commenting on another video, and he's like, "This woman wins TikTok." Dude sitting in his car, and it is just pouring rain. Like, you could take a shower. It's raining so hard.
Oh, wow.
And his wife comes outside in shorts and a t-shirt, no shoes on, just to give him a kiss in the car. I'm assuming because he forgot. Because if I forgot that, I would come stay at your house. Like, part of telling our wives that they're beautiful and being honest about it is that it keeps the spark, it keeps the intimacy, it keeps the
Yeah.
relationship. And so like that lady wins TikTok because she went out just to say goodbye to her husband. He's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "You didn't give me a kiss." I'm like, "It's raining." She's like, "So?" And like she's standing out there in the rain, like The Notebook,
Yeah.
and just like grumpy with him that he didn't say goodbye. And I'm like, that's a whole nother show. Say goodbye to your wives before you go anywhere. Doesn't matter. Wake them up. They'll love
Yep.
it. Anyway, um, but that's just like the same thing. Like we tell our wives, like I genuinely think my wife's hot. And I tell her pretty regularly, whether it's like actually telling her, like, hey, you look nice today. That's fine. Like that helps. Or, grunting when she walks by with no pants
Right.
on, whatever. Um, those are all like, that's fine. Do those things because that's going to help keep the intimacy and keep the spark
Yeah.
and the reasons that you dated and got married in the first place.
There's a lot, and guys, don't. There's more ways to tell your wife she's pretty than just physically saying you're pretty. Staring at your wives. I mean, and I mean, not in a weird way, but I mean, you can
No.
sit there and look at your wife while she's walking by, and I've done this. I'll have a smile on my face, and I'm like, wow. And in my mind, I'm thinking my wife's beautiful, and they kind of look at you like, what?
Yes.
And you can sit there and go,
Mine's
I
usually
think you're
like
beautiful.
up here.
Well, yeah, but I mean, my wife's not too tall, so it's all kind of compact, so I get to see everything.
Where were we at? It happens at home all the time. But it was an unplanned date and my head was not in it. Like I was happy we went to dinner cuz I could just like zone out and I straight zoned out. And like we're sitting across from each other at the table and I don't remember why, but I was just like staring like this and I was looking like here at the table, which is here at
Right.
the table. And she looked at me, she's like, "Honey, we are in public. You need to lift your head up." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "Up." And I'm like, "Oh," and I just started laughing. I'm like, "That's funny. Like, that wasn't my intent, but I mean, they're nice, you know."
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, and like that, I mean, and to expand on that, it's literally if you're looking at your wife, and she can look at your face and go, "What is he looking at? Why is he looking at me that way?" He's got that grin, like the Cheshire
Yeah.
Cat, like the cat that ate the canary. He's like, but it did. Why? Why are you looking at me that way? And that just opened the door for you,
Yeah.
honey. I think you're beautiful. No, you don't. That's why I'm staring at you. You're beautiful. I love you. And it's little things like that because then the next time she walks by and you're doing that, she already knows.
Yep. Now, ladies, it doesn't matter why.
Right.
And I'm calling you out. I'm sorry. I am calling you out. You will take that in some form or other way that does not actually mean what he said. I genuinely think my wife's pretty. I think she's the hottest woman alive. All the time she'll tell me, I don't understand. No, I'm not that kind of person. I don't look like that kind of person. It doesn't matter.
Right.
I don't know if you can hear me banging on the table. It doesn't matter. You are all beautiful and enough, and we could go through the whole song and all of that stuff. So, like, don't
Right.
beat yourself up because some guy thought you were hot, okay? It's fine. You are. Leave it alone. Good?
I'm good. I think that was great. I mean, and we've kind of covered that to where with the women, yes, like Jeff said, it's not, we're not saying it one to just say, hey, I think you're hot,
Yeah.
to say, hey, let's go upstairs, hon, type of thing. No, it doesn't have to
No.
be that way. And
Not at all.
and there's nothing wrong with that. There's really
Yeah.
not. But to sit there and be just, I love you. I think you're beautiful, and I think that in itself just kind of solidifies the marriage,
Yeah.
or dating in that aspect, to where you can actually have other conversations. Okay, well, that's not in the back of her mind. Does he think I'm pretty? Does he think I'm beautiful?
Yeah, they shouldn't have to ask.
Absolutely.
And I guess we should preface this. Tell your wife she's pretty without the expectation of a happy ending. Just tell your wife
Right.
she's pretty. And like we have said this several times. My wife is beautiful, but it's all of my wife, like
Yeah.
physically, mentally.
Absolutely.
like all of that. Like when I look at my wife, I look at 15 years of us figuring it out together and going through the valleys,
Yeah.
and like we did that, you know?
Yeah.
And so like that's over time that grows, right?
The scars, the emotional scars are
Yeah.
there, and that in itself is a beautiful thing to see because that means they went through it with you.
Yeah. That's cool. All right. We're about out of time. Like, subscribe, leave us comments. MyWifeStillLikesMe.com. We are not professionals. You will hear this every time. If you have a mental health issue or feel like you need to seek professional help, go find it. We are not it. Your local church probably would be a good place to start. Psychology
Oh yeah.
Today, I don't know. Whatever. Go find professional help because we are not it. We're just two guys who think you can be better at being married. And you can be better at being married.
Absolutely.
And your wife will still like you. That's it for me. I'm Jeff. That's Mike. Where my wife still likes me. And we'll see you next week. Peace.